Thanks for joining me this week on the show. I am thrilled to introduce you to CarolAnn Tutera, CEO and President of SottoPelle, a company that has been a forerunner in pellet hormone replacement therapy. You can learn more about their company. You can work with practitioners who are close to you as soon as you listen to this podcast and learn what is possible in replacing the estrogen and testosterone levels that our bodies produce less of as we age, that they are safer than we have thought them to be since a certain study came out 10 years ago, and the potentials in this field. Thrilled to have you with me. Thanks for tuning in.
It's time to flip the script on stress and learn how to thrive today and throughout your days. Join me for inspiration and interviews with folks who are shining their light in the world in the areas of positive mindset, health, and well-being. I'm your host, Susie Vine. Let's get happified.
Welcome back. I am thrilled to have you with us this week on the show for a conversation that I know you're going to find so much value in. As recently, the conversation and the perception about bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is coming back to the forefront. I am joined today by one of the forerunners in the field with an amazing, very easily accessible method of using this therapy. So I'm joined today by CarolAnn Tutera, an industry leader in pellet therapy and brain health. SottoPelle CEO and President CarolAnn Tutera is trailblazing a new path for pellets while studying the brain. CarolAnn co-founded SottoPelle with her late husband, Dr. Gino Tutera, 35 years ago. Since then, they have educated over 2,000 physicians and helped hundreds of thousands of patients regain their health and vitality through the use of bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. CarolAnn's passion is to eradicate the myths and confusion about hormones so people can enjoy better physical, mental, and cognitive well-being as they age. Thank you, CarolAnn, for making time to join us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, and I can tell it's a passion as long as you have been a part of this field, and I think you've really been a mainstay in it as a certain study came out, it became rather demonized, and now we are coming back to accept the potential of hormone replacement therapy. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience and what you've seen happening in the industry over this time?
I'll give you a little background about how we started because it's important that you understand that. My late husband, Dr. Tutera, and I were in Rancho Mirage, California. Somebody came up to him, another physician, and said, "Hey, how would you like to put in a pellet?" He's like, "Sure, but what's a pellet?" He felt that was the last key to using a bioidentical product for women and men. He was trained by this late physician that everyone was getting the same dose. A couple months after he was trained, the physician sadly passed away, and he was left with this group of patients who were coming in from all over the country to be treated. And he started using his common sense and thinking, wait, y'all don't wear the same size clothing or shoe. Why is everybody getting the same dose? This is supposed to be personalized and individualized. So he found a pharmacy to work with who would take the dosing of estradiol and testosterone, make different size doses for women. That's who we started with first, and flipped what he was trained to do. He was trained to give them a ton of estrogen just because for females, very little testosterone. But that's farther from the truth. Honestly, we get very little estrogen and much more testosterone. In our 30s, we were making 300 milligrams of testosterone a day. We are noticing that more and more women, as we start to age up, as the environment has changed, as we're eating more processed food, as we're eating out a lot more, that it's not as healthy for us, we're treating women in their mid-30s now. He came up with individualized dosing in the early 90s that is in play today, that everyone has copied and started using his method. We've trained physicians all over the world. We've seen it change where, as you said, it went from good to bad back to good now. And the study you're referring to was in 2020 2012, I believe, the Women's Health Initiative said that estrogen is bad for women. Now, let's really think about this. We make estrogen. If it was bad for us, why would our body make estrogen? And that's like saying an engine in a Chevy is bad for all cars, no matter what you drive. So after a while, that was put to rest because they realized that's not really true. And more women and now men are finding that a bioidentical product is much safer for them to use.
Thank you for that. Distilling a lot of history and turmoil into a nutshell. When I was very young, shortly after my brother's birth, actually, my mother had a full hysterectomy. And so she was on hormone replacement therapy coming through that time in the 80s and the 90s, and certainly being in that practice in the 90s and getting that established and finding these innovations and then kind of having it all reeled back after that study in 2012 was probably pretty devastating for the practice. I'm sure frustrating in seeing his own experience, the success in his patients, and then having to work against this public perception that suddenly changed so radically.
But let's keep in mind, they were testing creams, pills, patches. Pellets were not to be found in that testing because pellets are made of pure estradiol and pure testosterone, chemically matching exactly what the body produced. So if this is the molecule chain your body made, this is exactly what we give back to you in pellets. Everything else tilts and goes sideways. Now, the beauty with pellets when they're slipped under the skin, hence the name SottoPelle. Sotto is under, Pelle is skin. They are controlled by the heart because the heart controls the blood. The pace of the blood going by it is controlled by the heart. So the more it goes by, it's like a kid licking a lollipop. The faster the heart rate goes, the more that it takes off of the pellet and it slowly dissolves. Women are seen generally 3 to 4 times a year. Men are seen twice a year.
Interesting. So it even dissolves just a little bit more quickly, differently in your female patients than male.
Well, because males receive a lot of testosterone. They're nothing but testosterone. Females receive smaller doses of estradiol and testosterone. Men receive big testosterone doses. So it lasts longer for them.
Got you. Interesting. And so with it being applied, installed, if you will, under the skin, and that really seems to let your patients go about having normal activities and lives and not remembering to take a pill or reapply a patch. What is that, weekly or monthly?
Sometimes it's daily if it's a cream. You never know if you get the cream on right. If you're wearing a patch, you could end up looking like you've got the Olympic rings on you. If you're taking a pill, you may forget to take it. So there's so many different routes of non-compliance that goes on with patches, pills, and creams. With a pellet, it's placed, over, done with. You don't think about it. It's under the skin, on the backside, in the hip area. The only thing you have to know is that you have to lay low for a couple of days after because we don't want the pellet to be pushed up to the skin. So as the hip moves, we don't want the pellet to come up like that. So we just ask you to take it easy. No bicycle riding. You can walk. No lower body in the gym. Upper body is good.
Yeah. And I think too, just understanding the mechanics of it all, like taking it easy, letting the muscles rest, letting the body be accustomed to the pellet.
Hormones.
Thank you. And so I'm also really fascinated in this understanding, this progression that we've had from women get estrogen, men get testosterone, or this is what we have, this is what we use, and starting to understand the importance of testosterone in the way that women's bodies function. How did that start to evolve from what he was initially taught?
I think the fact that he didn't have a backup doctor to go back and talk to, and then he started thinking, he had great common sense. And that's really about the only thing I can tell you. The man intuitively knew exactly what he was doing. God bless him because he was an incredible physician that people still talk about today. He came up with the idea of using DIM for breast health protection, that now everybody's decided to use DIM with their patients. There was another product we have that's a hair repair. We have another nutraceutical line called Tutera, and he developed the hair product. It's a multivitamin that you take. It helps with thickening, strengthening, and lengthening of the hair follicles and the hair. I know this because I had it third-party tested. I wanted to make sure that the product we were putting out there represented exactly what Dr. T wanted it to do. Lo and behold, it did. I didn't have it tested until after his death a couple of years later. And then I also coupled that with a shampoo and a conditioner. So he instilled the use of common sense with me as well, continuing on the legacy of what we built.
Marvelous. And I think that really speaks to what we can tap into, what we can discover when we step away from the framework, right? We've been taught this, and this is how we practice, and this is the application because I was told so. And the universe works in mysterious ways, but that inability to call back on his mentor, even just a few months after bringing this into his practice, and therefore having to find his own way to really tune into what he was seeing and experiencing in his patients, probably allowed him to make more progress faster than if he had maintained under the mentorship of the physician.
That's a good way to state it. I really think that's true. He had to walk this path by himself for a very long time. And then I was the person behind the scene who was developing all the paperwork that goes with it, the marketing that went with it, that just got blasted out after we started training physicians on how to use the pellets.
As things go, right? It takes two, those most powerful partnerships. One does one aspect of the work and the other sees where there's need. And there you were, taking care of the paperwork, working on the marketing, helping to spread the word, helping then, I'm sure, to manage this growing group of physicians learning how to bring this into their practice. How did you see this move out through the field as he had success and then these newer physicians were coming to him to learn how to bring this into their own practices?
We were putting on seminars once a month at a hotel here in Scottsdale. After a while, we realized that Rancho Mirage was not going to be a place for us. We had a patient who was a pilot with her own plane, and she was flying all her friends over every couple months until one day she came to us and she said, this is getting expensive. Would you mind coming over to Scottsdale and start treating everybody in Scottsdale? So we did start that. We started on a Saturday a month. This is great fun. We'd come over, get to enjoy Scottsdale, never been here, until Friday turned into Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And we said, writings on the wall, we need to be here. So we were training here large groups of physicians every month. And part of the training they received when they came in was learning how to bring this into the practice. They were given all the paperwork to use. They were given the same information because we have 3 office locations here in the greater Phoenix area. So by running that, I knew exactly how to run an office. We started out literally as a mom and pop business, running the office here in Scottsdale when we first started up.
And when you land on something that everyone needs, it tends to take on a life of its own.
It quickly went from a baby to a screaming teenager really quickly and had to bring in a lot more people to help the teenager move into the 20s.
I'm sure. And I'm interested too, as you're saying, initially your patients were primarily women, of course, with the change that we all experience approaching and going through menopause and the radical difference in hormones that we experience. But then also men started to come into the practice as well. Was it the kind of situation that wives were bringing their husbands in, or how did that start to evolve?
The husbands came in because the wives were feeling so great and they would want to share with us. And they literally came in and they said, thank you for giving me back my wife. So they wanted to be able to be on a healthy route to age gracefully as the wife did. We all know that testosterone is great hormone for feeling wonderful in the bedroom. So this is why the men started coming in as well.
Got you. As the women were
More amorous.
exactly, embracing that again, then they could step up to the plate and find that mutual satisfaction. Beautiful.
You know, men don't talk about their health and take care of it like women do. They're in what we call the river of denial. So they like to live there instead. The wives would bring them in. Unbelievable results they were getting and seeing. They were able to come home from work and be part of the family again instead of sitting on the couch and falling asleep before dinner. They were able to get to the gym again. They were able to burn the fat. They were feeling healthier inside. The mental acuity was sharpening. It really, replacing the hormones in the body does the body good. Really does.
And as you're saying, that one shift, having those hormones come back into balance, bringing the energy level up, attention, stamina, all of those things, right? We know that exercise is fundamental for so many aspects of our well-being. But if you don't have the energy or the inclination to get to the gym, most of that output is just getting yourself in the door. So that's really amazing. Just by making this switch, then your patients were able to make the lifestyle choices that they need to make more easily.
Oh, absolutely. You have no desire to even get up and do anything. And as the old term is, a couch potato. So I think that term's kind of gone by the wayside of the 90s somewhere. But unfortunately, the fact is we're home a lot more now after COVID. We stayed home all the time during COVID. We got used to being at home. We got used to being on the couch. But people were still coming in for the hormones because they wanted to keep feeling good and feeling healthy. So even now, if you're just not feeling like yourself, that's really the best way to describe it. I tell everyone to get a lab work done, start somewhere, get a baseline done, talk to your provider about that. We have a list of all the physicians we've trained across the country on our website. If there's not a provider in your area, there will be soon because we're constantly being asked to train. It really is for everyone. It truly is.
And you started to answer the question that I wanted to ask next. And as you're saying, it is for everyone. What would you say that if someone is listening to this and saying, is she talking about me? I'm not really sure. You said if they're not really feeling themselves, but what are some of the things that someone might recognize, that they're not feeling themselves in these aspects, that they could be good candidates for this hormone replacement therapies?
Well, we have a list of symptoms on the website, and I'll tell you what I was going through in my early 40s. I had night sweats so bad, I had to change the sheets in the morning. I was irritable and grouchy. I couldn't remember where I put anything. I would walk to a room, walk back out and go, why was I there? And hoping I would remember when I walked into that room that thought would magically pop into my head. I didn't feel like exercising, and I'm a big exercise person. I would take my daily walks, and it's like, oh, this is not doing me any good. Why am I continuing doing this? Typical symptoms for a female. So I had my lab work done, and lo and behold, I had the insides of a 70-year-old woman. Well, I'm a 70-year-old woman in a couple of months, and I feel like I'm back in my 40s. Physiologically, that's what the hormones do for you when they are placed in the body. You are physiologically back in your 30s and 40s. Absolutely incredible. I wouldn't do it any other way.
Well, that's remarkable. Looking at you as we're recording the interview, I would place you in your 40s, maybe 50s. So I think that in itself is a testament to the lifestyle, of course, that you have, but also pursuing and finding the modalities that are going to support you. And I think many women put off looking for support in these areas. I'm listening to a good friend of mine right now share her experiences and the way things are starting to turn around for her as she's started using hormone therapies.
To me, it was a lifesaver. Of course, when I first got the hormones, I sat there and cried because I felt like I was an old lady at the time. I wasn't supposed to be in menopause in the early 40s. That's just a big no-no. I know some women who start in their late 30s just because of our lifestyles. Best thing I've ever done for myself, though. It truly is. I've got energy, the get up and go, the motivation, the drive, probably more so than somebody in their 40s or 50s right now.
Yes, I think that really speaks volumes. It's so frustrating, and there's plenty of evidence indicating that perimenopause is starting younger. More and more women are affected by hormone disruption. Our environment is no help to us at this point. There's so much education we have to take on to ourselves. And it's great to know that there are practitioners, thanks to looking through your network and finding people who are in our areas, who are enlightened to this to take some of that load off of ourselves.
It's nothing to be afraid of anymore because we never talked about it years ago. Mom never even talked to me about it. It was something they just didn't discuss. My generation discussed. My younger sister's generation, they discuss everything. More so than the stuff I really want to know about. So more and more women are stepping out. Look at the Oprah show that came out, that they step out and they talk about menopause and they talk about the help that they need. It's okay to talk about getting help in so many factions of our life. Mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. We all need help in one area or another. Why is it such a taboo to talk about menopause? I don't understand. He wrote his first book called You Don't Have to Live with It. Because that's what the doctor will tell you when you walk in, and if they know nothing about hormones or pellets, they'll say, just live with it. Not a big deal. You'll get through it in a couple of years. Come back then.
Right. Weight gain, interrupted sleep, lack of energy, lost libido, all kinds of things. Well, you're of that age. Well,
Right.
it's time to talk with the new doctor.
Yeah, I don't want to see that kind of doctor.
What would you say, too, in terms of expectations? Do patients, as they begin using hormone replacement therapy, is this something that once they begin it, they will always be using? Or is there a typical range that people are using the pellets? What do you find?
If you want to feel good and age nice and age well and healthy, you stay on the pellets. Absolutely. It's like putting gas in a car. You want the car to keep running, you got to put gas in it. You want the car to run, period, you got to charge it up and put in the electrical cord if you've got a battery that you got to charge. We're just like that. We've got a patient in her early 90s because she wanted to get out of bed every morning. She didn't want to grow old and just lay there and wither away. She doesn't go far. She goes from the inside to the outside, sits on the front porch. But hey, that's great. I think that's fantastic.
It makes a world of difference from being locked inside of your house, barely making it to the sofa, to being outside, to getting the sunshine, to seeing the neighbors, to engaging in your community. All of that has profound impact.
It does. And you find that as you age, it's very easy to go into isolation. It's very easy. If you don't wear hearing aids and you can't hear, you're going to go into isolation as well. If you don't have hormones in the system, you'll go into isolation and then you go into depression. So I think the alternative, this is a better route.
So I was at a conference recently hosted by a medical group intended for women. And I got to sit in on a discussion about bioidentical hormone therapy, which was fantastic. It's great to see a room full of women who are becoming aware of the potentials here, that we don't have to resign ourselves to living with the natural changes, air quotes around that we're told to expect. And then I attended a discussion by a cardiologist who said, well, hormone therapy and cardiovascular disease is tricky, and you really have to be cautious of this. Do you find in your practice that with the right support, they can both be managed, or is there anyone who might not be a good fit for hormone therapy?
We have trained cardiologists because they found the benefit of hormones in the heart. I'll leave it at that. They need to have an open mind and really study the fact that the hormones help the heart. Anybody who's not a good candidate, that's a good question you would need to talk with your practitioner about. I tell everybody, do your homework, talk to your practitioner. You've got to have the lab levels done first to see where your levels are.
And is working with the lab work something you train your physicians to do as well?
Oh, absolutely. Dr. T figured out there's just a handful of labs that you really need to take. There are some people who order sheets and sheets and sheets. Why? I don't know. The body's not that complicated. We're just treating the hormones.
And then when you finally get to a root cause like this kind of hormone imbalance, which is a natural result of aging, but I think exacerbated by our environments, then you can see the ripple effect. Then you can see how the other systems in your body are working. As you're saying, when you're working with a good practitioner who's watching your whole picture, then they're tuned in and they're supporting you and leading you in the right direction.
This is true. Absolutely. Absolutely. I always say get the hormones checked first, then funnel your way down if you have any other symptoms or things that are out of place in the body. If you've got gut health, then work on the gut health next.
Is there anything that you find as you're training physicians that they tend to be surprised about as they start understanding what's available to them with hormone therapy?
Yeah, they had no idea that women made 300 milligrams of testosterone a day in their 30s. They're all very shocked.
The things they leave out of medical school.
That's right. That's right.
And I don't think this is new information per se. I think we've been looking at this for a long time. It's just not information that's shared.
The pellets have been around since 1939. They were originally developed for a woman who had had a radical hysterectomy. So I don't know the gentleman's name who came up with the actual pellet, but when he was doing the surgery and they were cut open, at the time, that's what they were doing, not laparoscopically. He'd put them in, plop, plop, fizz, fizz, sew her up, and then she'd never go into any symptoms whatsoever. She'd start to get on a nice steady stream of hormones, and that's how the pellets are.
Interesting. And so if you had a crystal ball, what would you expect we can look for in the future of these therapies or what you see coming down the line in your company? You're really staying at the forefront of answering these issues that are coming up for your patients.
We do stay at the forefront because my late husband discovered that Parkinson's patients were seeing incredible good health with having testosterone in the body.
Wow.
We treat some football players who are no longer playing. One is specifically was a Hall of Famer and he was ready to commit suicide, but we got the brain health going again for him. Completely turned around his life. Jim McMahon, big quarterback for the Chicago Bears back in his day, turned around his life majorly. Very excited to stay on the hormone therapy as he's aging up. We're also working with Amen clinics. Amen clinics are around the country. Dr. Amen is to brain health as Dr. T was to hormones. They go symbiotic together because you cannot really treat the brain until you've got the body in check. And that's what Dr. Amen says. Get the body checked, make sure the hormones are checked out, handled, taken care of. Then we're going to treat the brain. And right now we are doing studies with some patients getting the brain scans so we can watch the pellets work within the body. Probably won't have the study finished for a couple of years because it takes a while for this study because we want to see it yearly, ongoing, and that's how that's going to roll out.
Amazing. Yeah, I love the work of Dr. Amen and looking at brain health and really being able to visualize the impact of different lifestyles, different patients that he has seen who have different lifestyle habits and how their brain scans look. And I think this is really incredible to look at the impact of balancing hormones and restoring the brain.
I'm excited to see what it does to the brain. I really am because I've seen brain scans that he's done before. It's quite fascinating what's going on up there. What little holes that have been produced by accidents or falls or a mental health issue. It's quite fascinating what happens to the brain.
It is. And again, talking about the time that you have been in this industry and seen changes happen. In the 90s, we didn't understand neuroplasticity at all. We thought damage to the brain was damage we had to learn to live with. And now the potential for recovery and brain restoration is extraordinary. So again, filling in this missing piece of the puzzle, bringing these hormones in, just brings in a whole new potential.
Well, and I think there's another key to the brain health as a hyperbaric treatment. That unbelievably putting that oxygen back into the body. Whew, great stuff. It really helps change the brain as well.
Amazing. I think that we're at an age where hopefully we can stop calling it alternative medicine and really embrace the concept of complementary medicine and bring these different modalities in so people can really experience the full potential of recovery that we have
Yeah,
access
wouldn't that
to.
be ideal? Eastern medicine complementing Western medicine. Yeah. It would be nice to be able to practice medicine to keep people healthy instead of always chasing after an issue. So we actually get to the root cause. Everybody else puts bandages on it. And the reason we do so much lab work is comparatively, you wouldn't give somebody heart medicine unless you tested for what they needed or tested for liver or tested for kidney medicine. It's the same perception.
Absolutely. And so I think, too, that's really something I want listeners to come back to. I've mentioned before on previous episodes, but it's important for us to be the CEO of our medical team.
Ugh.
Make sure you have practitioners who are hearing you, who are asking you the right questions, who are taking time to answer your questions, and really acknowledge the healing potential of our bodies because we are designed to stay in balance.
Firm believer in that, Susie. I'm a firm believer you have to take basically your life in your own hands because you know your body. You know your body better than anybody does. And I was just reading a story about a woman who saved herself from having cancer down the road. They caught it early enough because she kept telling her doctor, it's off. There's something off. I'm not feeling right. Oh, you're fine. Just, and get over it. No, she really pushed and pushed and pushed. And finally, they found cancer. So it could have been aggressive by the time they found it in a couple of years, but they caught it early enough. Kudos to her.
Yeah, it's really essential that we become our own advocates. So is there anything else that we didn't touch on today that you want our audience to be aware of?
I think we did a good job. Absolutely.
Thank you. Let people know, and I'll have links in the show notes, but let people know where they can connect with you, learn more.
Website is SottoPelle Therapy. I'll spell it out. SOTTO, P as in Peter, ELLE therapy.com.
Perfect.
Tons of information, videos, and a contact us page.
Marvelous. And they can learn how to connect with practitioners in their area if they're interested in learning more, getting some of these labs done to find out where they are and what might be possible.
Absolutely.
Marvelous. Thank you, CarolAnn, for your time. I appreciate you coming and joining me on the show and bringing this conversation. Like I said, as the perception is coming back around, as it's becoming less taboo, I'm thrilled to see the potential of people embracing healthier hormonal balance. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. You'll find all the resources we discussed today online at happifiedlife.com, along with links to subscribe to Happified on your favorite player and a handy search tool so you can search all of our previous episodes. Help us grow by leaving a quick review and share this episode with a friend. Until next time, keep on shining.